have completed my survey along either side of the Palolo stream, and I have collected a series of photographs of plants that I found and determined through research what species those plants were. And through my survey, I have listed all of those plants and their scientific names, their descriptions, uses, all kinds of information about them. But for the additional part of my assessment, I'm going to be making this video talking about how these plants affect Hawaii. To give a preface to this, while I talk about all these different flora, I will be discussing native, endemic, and indigenous plants, and so I wanted to clarify what the difference is. So native species are found in a certain ecosystem due to a natural process, which can be like distribution due to evolution. It's something that no human intervention has brought a native species to an area. It happened naturally. Then a native species can be indigenous, as discussed, I just said, or a native species can also be endemic. When a species is indigenous, it's found in a particular location and in those surrounding areas. But on the other hand, an endemic species is a native species that is only found in a singular area, large or small. So it could be endemic to an entire continent, or it could be endemic to an entire super tiny area. And then there's introduced or non-native species, and a big example of this, which I do not see thankfully along the Palolo stream, but it's definitely a problem in Hawaii, is the strawberry guava is a huge example of this, and these are species that occur in a way that's not natural, meaning they were brought through human influence, either purposefully or accidentally. And with that, the only other thing you need to know is that not all introduced species are bad, but introduced species definitely have the potential of becoming invasive species, such as strawberry guavas, where they compete with the other native species in the ecosystem, and the native species cannot keep up, and so we lose our native species to these introduced species, which we do not want for a number of reasons, which I'll talk about in the end. So that should get us set up to start talking. My uncle and auntie are from here, and they have tried their best to teach me some of the Hawaiian phonics, but if I mistake any of the words, I apologize. So I'm going to be going over the plants in alphabetic order. If you want to see where exactly the plants were located in the survey that I found, you can go and look at the map that I drew out. So the first plant is ali'i, and it's a dense shrub with small green leaves, and it has tiny flowers that are kind of pink. This is an indigenous plant, so it's good for the islands. It starts with in a dry coastal lowland area, and it can move up into wetter areas of the forest. It also can be then planted in dry areas of the forest, in Maui and on Big Island. So the next plant is Elena, and it is a succulent, kind of succulent herbs, and this is a native Hawaiian plant, good for the island, and it is primarily found in coastal areas and in rocky and sandy soil types. It's a common ground cover, and it's found on pretty much all main Hawaiian islands. Then we have banana trees. My uncle and auntie actually have their own banana tree. Banana trees are large plants. They can be up to 9 feet long and 2 feet wide. Root development can be extensive in loose soil. And yeah, then there's the croton. Croton plants are known for being robust and have lots of shrubs. They actually are native to Fiji and other islands of West Australia, so they are not from here. They're in the spruce family. And there's guava fruit trees. So there are different types of guava fruit trees. One specific one that is not good for Hawaii is the strawberry guava tree. I didn't see any of those, but those are definitely a thing to look out for because they overtake the native plants and they don't help hold it in the soil and the sand and protect the land. So those are something to look out for. I saw koa trees, which are endemic plants that are often dominant in dry, wet forests on all main islands. Then there was the golden creeping jenny, which is this little leaves that kind of would grow along the sides of the stream. Then there was ohia lehua. I saw some lehua with a little pink but mostly white. This is an endemic plant found on all main islands. Very beautiful, often endangered in some places. There's the oleander, which is familiar in Hawaii. It's an ornament shrub, has little pink flowers. There was some plumeria trees, which are just big trees with, these had small white flowers, the ones that I saw in my survey. There were purple flowers, princess flowers. And lastly, there was tea plants. There was both green tea leaf and the beautiful purpley red kind. And with that, it brings us back to the purpose of this survey. So the reason that we're surveying all the different plants is not just to see the ecological biodiversity and take track of what's going on along the stream. The biggest point we're trying to do this is to see which species are, if there are any invasive species taking over the stream. And this is because invasive species can have a lot of negative impacts because they can outcompete native species in the same ecological niche. They can actually reduce biodiversity in their new habitat because they just take over, and they can alter the new habitats in ways that make it difficult for the native species to survive. So this is important that we make sure what's going on along the Palolo stream, because if there are invasive species that are outcompeting the native species, we need to look into ways to remove those species and restore the ecosystem. So after this slide, I will provide you with a list of all the plants that I saw and whether they're indigenous, endemic, native, non-native, introduced, or invasive. Thank you so much for listening.